Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our channel tonight, and it's another week of SEC college football with Dadman. Glad to have you all here. Hopefully, people will start coming in as we start to look at last week's action and talk about next week's college football action in the Southeastern Conference, and have some fun with football. If you have questions, ask in the chat. I love answering questions, and we'll get through this season together. We'll have an interesting season because I'm going to need a lot of you people after the Gators did what they did last week. So it's all good. It's all good. Anyway, yes, I'm rambling tonight because that's what I do. I'm Dadman Walking 55, and another exciting night with us tonight. I'm going to just say hello to Mrs. Dadman out there because I know she's hanging out in the chat. And I do hope you enjoy your time here. Maybe you can learn some things about football. And that's what we're here for tonight. So if you like what you see, hopefully you do, leave a like, follow on Twitch, subscribe, leave a like on the YouTube side. We're growing. We're up to 30 on each side of the broadcast spectrum, so looking forward to more and more things and great results in the future. So, and we have lots of fun, so that's the main thing. And hello to the lovely wife, Mrs. Dadman Walking, who is highly involved in this show, even though you don't hear her that much. So, but hey, yep, like we do each week, we're going to start off. We're going to have our intro here. We've got a very special guest lined up for tonight. Somebody that I've been wanting to talk to some football for a while, who I usually get distracted on his show and places where he is by hijacking the chat into football, even though the football's not the topic. But that is going to be a great time to actually talk football with Mark. We'll review last week's action. We'll talk to our guest about some general questions about football, like we do all of our guests. What's special about football, what they like about it, and memories that they have. Then we will review the top 25, the changes from last week into this week, and preview the games for next week. And we'll wind up with our host and our guest picks this week, which will be very interesting to see how our guest picks tonight, because we've had quite an interesting first 2 weeks of guest pickers and their methodologies. So we'll see that. I might be a little more serious, but who knows? Maybe he used a dartboard. We'll see what. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on our special guest tonight. Oh, wait. What are we doing? Hey, Ords Board. Hello, Ords. Good to see you out there in the chat. Thanks for swinging by. And so now we're going to bring on our great special guest, a guy who's helped me with a lot of tech support with this channel, who has brought me onto his podcast and stuff, and has, really kept me late up at night playing a lot of Fortnite. So, Mark D with a C, how are you tonight, my friend?
Hey, good evening. Is this the sports ball talk here on this channel? It's not Fortnite?
Nope.
But no.
Hey. Oh, did you? I don't know if you saw. I did my first Fortnite stream.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep. Yeah, I wanted to. I got to go back and watch that. Did you fervently emote at any time, or? I
think I was too nervous to fervently emote. I was kind of stunned, like, what the hell am I doing? Kind of, Thanks to Amanda for helping me walk me through that. I mean, but yeah, it's real easy to go through the PS4. So.
Oh, you did it just straight through the PS4. Yep. Nice.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Yep.
Looking forward to doing some more, but of course, not ever getting rid of our late night Fortnite adventures.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's all good. Yep. Thank you for having me here. I am a not gonna say a massive sports fan, probably more in my younger days, but of course I follow the sports ball. Of course, you know me from my channel. I'm more Star Trek, comic books, and geek toys and things like that. But and movies and pop culture, and of course it's great to be on your channel for a change. So
yeah,
thank you for having me. Yep. So congrats.
It's a pleasure to have you here. It's a lot different on this side when you're having to control the button.
Yeah, when you're a guest, you don't have to worry about pressing the wrong button or doing the wrong thing, or
Making sure you're live, making sure there's no
you're
bugs.
live. Am I live? Yeah, do I need to go live? Yeah.
Well, folks, I will tell you, Mark is the guy. He's being shy about his knowledge of football and stuff. But if you ever have a football game and you need a cook for your tailgate, Mark's your guy.
Well, the cooking side I got you definitely covered. Yeah. That I could brag about a little bit. Not talking about my football prowess in terms of picking games, but yeah, you might lose your money if you follow my picks, but you'll be well fed and a little bit fatter.
Well, we disclaim all of our picks here too, so we're with you on that. But yeah, if you have a picture or something in a little bit, maybe we can share that as we talk.
Can show you the pig that I just cooked. Yep. Well, that'd be perfect for a football game, right? Cooking a whole pig, right? So.
Yeah, and don't you? I don't know. You've done hockey where you you projected on the side of your house, right?
Yeah. So I'm a big hockey fan. So growing up, I played hockey, and then I actually played football for a couple of years, but I wasn't. You got to keep playing football, so you just can't go in and just play it and then give it up and go back to it. So, and then believe it or not, the worst thing ever was my mom. I love my mom, but she didn't want to take me to hockey practice at 6:30 in the morning. Ooh. So she told me one year, she's like, well, you're going to do figure skating with your sister Laura because they canceled hockey or whatever. Weird, I don't remember. So years later, she told me she just didn't want to take me to practice at 6:30 in the morning or 6 in the morning. So I'm a pretty big guy if you see me on camera. So imagine me. I was a little, a lot lighter back then, but I had to do figure skating for a few years. And then I went back to hockey, but by then I couldn't make the varsity. I was just too far behind. But
oh man!
But that's so. I played baseball. Played baseball growing up. It was probably, and a little bit of soccer. That was just starting to hit in the 70s. Was some soccer, but so yeah. So sports is a big, real important part of a lot of people growing up. So.
I remember that with the 70s. I mean, we had soccer around the school and community teams and stuff like that. Yeah, that was interesting at that point.
It was just kind of just like the Cosmos in New York were popular. I'm from the New York City area. I found a old videotape, like family movie, and like we're playing soccer in the 70s, and my kids are like, "How come everyone's wearing jeans? And what are those what are those funny shirts you're wearing?" Like no one had soccer gear. We're all wearing jeans and t-shirts and sneakers, no cleats, and then the dads are all smoking on the sideline. Like everyone's smoking.
Yeah, everybody.
Changed a lot.
I know. You mentioned that with the smoking. Yeah, everywhere. It was quite a different day and age back then.
Yeah.
So, which of the sports growing up did you prefer? Was your favorite?
Well, I probably baseball was my favorite growing up. Big Yankees fan. I know you're down all the way down south in Florida, but there's probably a lot of transplants from New York down there.
There are, there are Chicago.
Yeah, but Yankees. Greg Nettles is my favorite player, the third baseman. So 77 Yankees, 78 the World Series. That those are things that when you're like a 10-year-old kid, and your dad tells you, these guys get paid to do this. What do you mean they get paid? I'd play for free if the Yankees wanted me. When you're that young, you have no.
I'll do it a lot cheaper. Yes.
Yeah. Of course, but wouldn't be so good. But you just you're an innocent. As a young kid, you just idolize these athletes, and of course football. Of course, don't shoot me, but I was a huge. Massive Cowboys fan in the 70s, so Staubach and Dorsett and Too Tall, and because my dad was, as I joke, he was a foreigner, so he came here not speaking English, and he could care less about American football or sports in general. Like his motto was like, "I'm going to play sports. I'm not gonna watch them." He would only watch motorcycle racing and skiing. That was about it. So like when one of my birthdays, he got me tickets to a game. I'm like, for Major League. I'm like, oh, that's so awesome, Dad. We're gonna go see a game. He's like, who'd you get tickets for? Well, I got tickets for the Mets. I guess because they were cheaper.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, but Dad, I'm a Yankees fan. He's like, well, what's the difference?
It's a big difference. It's a big difference. Mets and Yankees, like Cowboys and Steelers.
Yeah, for him it did it. You know, just go. And we had a great time. You
Yeah.
know,
Absolutely.
You know.
Just going out to events like that. That's an awesome
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. Here in the comment here, I know who Mrs. is talking about. We had a friend whose kids both did hockey, and they were there. Even down here, down south, it's grown down here. The club teams and stuff with hockey, it's. I mean, they take it seriously.
Gretzky effect, yep.
Exactly. So it's definitely interesting. One more little thing in this section. When if baseball was your favorite, what position did you play?
Well, my favorite player was Nettle, so I was trying to play third base. Plus, I was slow as molasses, so that kind of worked. And then I would never wear my glasses, so my eyes were going.
Oh gosh!
And then in like junior Babe Ruth, and the coach says, "I'm going to put you in the outfield," and like I couldn't see the balls; they were like dropping, like hitting me on the head. He's like, "What's the matter?" I'm like, "I don't know." Like, when you're a young kid, you don't want to wear your glasses.
Well, especially when they want to stick you in right field, especially you may not be the best player, but I tell you, playing right field is the worst because of the way the angle comes off the ball.
Oh, yeah.
The ball comes off it's like, don't put your worst person there. Put them in center, maybe.
Or someone who's wearing glasses and can see, God, maybe that's why I couldn't hit the pitching when I got older.
I know.
Ward says he loves hockey. Hockey's a great fun. So hopefully the Rangers will have another good season this year.
Ords might be a Blackhawks fan, I'm thinking. But, so I'm a New Jersey Devils fan, if you want to hear that story.
How did you end up being a Devils fan?
Well, back in the early
Lightning?
80s. No, the heck with Florida doesn't deserve hockey. Florida, it's not a Florida sport. But back in the early 80s, if believe it or not, and that's why I try to tell some people, you can make sports nerdy and geeky by going bat crazy about numbers and statistics. In the old papers, they had the stats and all this. Well, probably about 82, 83, I was like, I just started picking the suckiest teams in the country. Now, I was always a Gator fan, but I picked the New Jersey Devils, the Golden State Warriors, Oregon State Beavers. I found the worst possible teams that were out there, and I just felt sorry for them. And that's before they televised anything. So
how could you even watch a game? Like, I was going to say, like, I became a Cowboys fan because there was no like family history, and of course who was on TV in the 70s? The Cowboys or the Steelers, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's all you had to choose from. That's why they were
the Cowboys had cheerleaders.
Exactly. Great cheerleaders. So, but that's how I did it.
Wow.
I picked it. And then when they came, got to watch. And then, of course, the Devils won a couple championships.
The Devils were fantastic for Lou Lamoriello. Sorry, I can't say his last name. But they had the prevent defense, basically. We call it in hockey. It was like the grab and hold, which they've eliminated now in hockey.
Right. And I think some of the taking it behind the net and stuff. Yeah, the Devils.
Brodeur was a master at handling the puck, so they added the lines where the goalie can no longer handle the puck in the corners.
I'm like, Brodeur. Why do they keep regulating? It happens in all the sports. They're doing more changes to baseball. It's like, why can we not leave something alone? So,
I guess what happens is, the players get so good, and then they're dominating, so then they want more scoring, right? That's baseball wants more home runs and more offense.
Yeah,
and they mess with things like if you watch the football game, 30 years ago versus a game today. I mean, you could destroy the quarterback in the old days.
Oh, I know.
I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but I mean, it's just a totally different game.
Well, we're going to, it is. And I think they've gone too far to protect the quarterbacks and the receivers because part of the old school was to hit them hard where they got alligator arms and they were scared to come across the middle. And you didn't make them think twice. But, Ord says, go Hawks, Ranger and Devils are dope. Fantasy sports is easy for jocks.
That's right. Yeah, I do a lot of fantasy sports. Yep. The fun thing is I'm doing, Yahoo. I do a bunch of teams. I've had a team since 2002 in Yahoo football, and my son now, who was born, was born that year, is actually my co-manager because Yahoo you can set up a co-manager, and he's majoring in sports analytics at Syracuse. University. So he's been helping to manage
Awesome.
my team. So my buddies haven't complained so much yet, but we're joking. That's like these are college buddies. So
Yeah.
it's like now we got our kids helping us with the analytics, and like his one of his professors in the class would start talking fantasy sports, because that's we were joking about it is D&D for jocks, and
Absolutely.
and he got banned from all his fantasy sports leagues, even his family league, because he kept winning.
Well, see, that's not fair if you're good and you have it. I had one guy that got kicked out of a work football pool because he just bet the line. He just picked the winners down the lines in the paper, and they got mad because he was winning. So, you can't be punished for doing it right.
Yeah, right.
And Orge, you're right. Brodeur was one of the best goalies of all time.
Oh yeah,
scored 2 goals. Yep.
I got a funny story about Mike Richter. And I do, as a Rangers fan, but you got to respect Brodeur and those Devils, even though they were like, it was a rivalry there, but I don't think there was real bad blood. It was just, how good the Devils were. But I was at a sports dinner with Mike Richter, and I'll tell the story quickly, but he had a kid who was, I guess, about, at the time, he said his kid was like 8 or 10 years old or whatever. And they're playing, of course, he had like street hockey set up for his son. So they're playing street hockey in the driveway, I guess. And they had like, a bunch of friends over, but the teams aren't even. So they're like, well, we need a goalie for one of the teams. He's like, Dad, maybe you can play goalie for Johnny. I don't know what the kid's name is. But so Johnny goes, yeah, but is he any good? And I have no idea that Richter had won a Stanley Cup for the Rangers, like a young kid.
Yeah.
So he's telling the story all laughing. Yeah, but is he any good?
That's awesome.
What do you think? Is he any good? Yeah.
Just slightly.
Well, you ought to.
Just slightly. So, well, that's great.
Richter, very nice guy too. Very friendly guy. Yeah.
And it's cool. We even threw hockey on a football show. That's even better.
That's sports puck, right? Not sports ball.
Hey, I'm open to any and every sports that we could talk, except maybe the world football. We need Ash for that one if we did that
FIFA.
FIFA, yeah. Well, let's jump into the next segment, which is we will review last week's action. How's that sound?
That sounds good.
We're going to start off with probably the game of the week, which was Alabama and Texas. Leave it to the missus to come up with this.
Wow, look at all this. Oh, curling. I love curling. I played curling once, yeah.
We love watching it during the Winter Olympics. It was really
That's fun,
really cool. It is a great sport, especially to watch. So I could imagine being out there playing it, though. So
it's not as easy as it looks, I got to tell you, especially after a few beers. You're like, oh, I'm going to do this curling thing. Looks easy. And then you flop over in your ass.
Yeah.
You try to throw the stone. You're like, wow, this is not so simple, right?
Was curling like bowling, where the drunker you get, the better you play?
Yeah. Except you're standing on ice, so you got to be a little bit more careful. But it's
I don't
it's a real
know.
social game, so it's.
I don't know. When we were engaged, we were bowling. We're out on a date, and we're bowling, and the missus back there. I threw the ball. My foot hit across the line. Yep. And so it slipped, and I went face forward. I slid probably 6 feet down the lane.
And she still married you?
Well, I'm just laying there with my hands in the gutters, just laying there, and I just hear this laughter behind me. Not "How are you?" or whatever else. It was
just laughing.
Just laughter.
And she decided to spend the rest of her life with the klutz. But yeah, because you hit the wax on the lane, and it's just like you go. It's
exactly. Like, I couldn't believe how far. I had to walk back very carefully, so I didn't do too much. Let's go into Alabama, Texas, the game of the week, which Alabama really got outplayed in this game for the most of the time against the Longhorns. Alabama knocked out the Texas quarterback with an injury early in the game, who was effectively moving the team, but Texas had to play most of the game with a backup quarterback, who also got dinged up in the game. Texas took a late lead, but left enough time for Alabama. Bryce Young, quarterback, was 27 of 39, throwing the ball for 213 yards with 1 touchdown. An interesting thing that happened in this game was Jason McClellan for Alabama had an 81-yard touchdown run very early in the first quarter. Alabama only gained 80 more yards rushing for the rest of the game.
Well, that's a great stat. Wow.
Yeah, that was Texas really. I mean, that crowd there watching the game was all into it. Really affected the game. They were very into it. A very raucous place to play. The two Texas quarterbacks combined for 23 of 34 for 292 yards. The game came down to like I said, Texas kicked a field goal with about a minute and a half left, but left enough time. Alabama drove. Bryce Young on a third down play, dodged a blitz and ran a 20-yard scramble down the sideline and got out of bounds to help set up the game-winning field goal, where Will Reichard kicked the game-winner 33-yard field goal with 10 seconds left in the game. So, did you get to see that game?
I didn't get to see it. Now, my brother-in-law went to Alabama, and that's one of the reasons I know how to cook barbecue, because Saturday game day is a huge day for him. But whenever Bama's playing, so we were, I didn't get to. Unfortunately, shout out to Mike, but his mom isn't doing great, so he wasn't able to. We weren't able to hang out that weekend, so he was visiting her. But yeah, so that's so kind of we started following Alabama, us Northerners, and my son actually went to Nick Saban's football camp years ago during the summer. He was a pretty decent football player at his lower level, but so and you kind of and you start to idolize these players too, almost like it's almost like a pro team now with how good this conference is and how good these players are. So I don't follow them. I'm not going to pretend to be a huge follower of all the stats. I love as a nerd / geek, I love what you did here. So, and this is just interesting to see got that 81 yards, you take that out of that out of those stats there.
It's a completely different
game. And the time of possession is interesting too, because with that many first downs, you think Texas would have more time of possession.
Wait till you see more of the stats coming, Mark. There are going to be some very eye-opening stats coming. So, but yeah,
Alabama kicker actually made a kick. What's going on?
I know, that's what's crazy.
See, that's exactly. I do know that. that.
Yes.
Alabama kickers usually are not
usually
so good.
Bad. This guy actually is pretty good though. I don't know if you remember a few years ago in the Iron Bowl, Alabama and Auburn, and Alabama tried to field goal and it ended just short, but the Auburn receiver caught it in the back of the end zone and went all the way for a touchdown to win the game.
Yeah,
that's one of the craziest plays I've ever seen. So, well, let's move on. We'll move on to another game. We've got South Carolina and Arkansas. The Razorbacks. I call them the Pigs for fun.
The Hogs.
Arkansas, the Hogs won 44-30 over South Carolina. You can see a difference about 10 minutes in time of possession. Arkansas ran the ball much more than South Carolina, which goes towards increased time of possession. KJ Jefferson, Arkansas's quarterback, had 162 yards passing with one touchdown. He only threw 3 incompletions the whole game, which was pretty impressive. Raheem Sanders for Arkansas rushed for 156 yards and 2 touchdowns. Antoine Wells Jr. had 8 receptions for 189 yards and a touchdown, and he accounted for over half the team's receiving yards. It's Arkansas's first win over South Carolina since 2011. So
was this an upset or was this?
No, this was a pretty standard. It was
pretty standard. Yeah.
Arkansas is up and coming with a new coach, Sam.
But they haven't beat him since 2011. That's what I'm asking. Right. But Arkansas is on the rise, though.
Right, and this is probably due to also that the East doesn't always play the West. South Carolina's in the Eastern Division, Arkansas is in the Western Division. But
yeah.
Sometimes they play. Sometimes the East has a recurring opponent in the West, and sometimes they alter them between years. So, but they played a few times since 2011, though. So
yeah, the turnovers kill you too, right? I mean,
absolutely.
Turnovers. Yeah.
Spencer Rattler is the quarterback for South Carolina. He's a transfer from Oklahoma, who destroyed the Gators in a bowl game a couple years ago, but he threw the 3 picks in this game. And this was kind of a sleeper of the week. One of the sleepy games. Kansas State beats Missouri, and I call it Missouri 40-12. It's like oh gosh, they're bad football. Didn't even run for 100 yards. you see how little passing was in this game with both teams. Deuce Vaughn for Kansas State rushed for 145 yards, 2 touchdowns. And Phillip Brooks had a 76-yard punt return for a touchdown. And even better, 4 turnovers. The two Missouri quarterbacks combined to throw 4 interceptions in the game.
Congrats to them. Yeah. So I guess the turnovers must have been, I didn't watch that game. The turnovers must have been part of the high score there.
Yeah. It was 26-6 at one point, and then I think it looked like Kansas State added a couple more touchdowns on at the end. But yeah, there's some of these games, it's just like you get through. Well, some of the games we'll preview also, you'll know they're paycheck games.
Yeah.
This is a game I was actually a little disappointed in. Wake Forest beats Vanderbilt 45-24. I was actually hoping Vanderbilt had turned a corner, but no, they ran into a buzzsaw of Wake Forest. Double the first downs, almost double the points. Wake Forest gained almost 500 yards on offense, while Vanderbilt struggled to throw the ball this week and turned the ball over 3 times. Sam Hartman, Wake Forest quarterback, it was his 2022 debut because he had missed the first game and part of the preseason due to blood clot issues. And he was finally cleared to play last week, completed 18 of 27 passes for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. And the win marks Wake Forest breaks a 3-game losing streak to Vanderbilt. So Vanderbilt, by the way, had beaten Elon and Hawaii in the previous 2 weeks and looked good. So there was some hope for them. But Mike Wright, who had played very well in those 2 games, the quarterback, really struggled, especially throwing the ball this time and got replaced later in the game. Which this is not
3 interceptions on the turnovers, or any by the quarterback, or you don't remember?
I don't remember, but it's 3 total team turnovers.
Yeah. I just wonder if
he at least threw 2 picks. So
2 picks. Yeah,
it was under 50% completion.
Because the rushing stats for Vandy are pretty good, but
yeah, it just. But sometimes you got to throw the ball, and this is not the only game I'm going to harp about bad quarterback play. So you know what's coming.
Yeah.
So this is another exciting game of the week, a cross-regional rivalry between Tennessee and Pittsburgh and what they call the Johnny Majors meet. Johnny Majors, an old coach that coached both Tennessee and Pittsburgh back in the 70s and 80s. It was a very close game, but Tennessee pulls it out 34-27. You can see how the stats are pretty well even, but yet Pittsburgh dominated the time of possession by about 10 minutes. Hendon Hooker completed 27 of 42 passes for 325 yards. And this game actually went to overtime. It ended regulation at 27-27, but Tennessee scored a touchdown in overtime and held Pittsburgh out of the end zone for the victory. Cedric Tillman for Tennessee had 9 catches for 162 yards. Israel Abanikanda for Pitt carried the ball 25 times for 54 yards with 1 touchdown. This is a game, though, where it was marked by Tennessee's aggressive defense. They caused 2 turnovers. They sacked the quarterback 4 times, and they had 16 quarterback hurries. Not only did they knock out Pitt's starting quarterback in the second half, they also the backup quarterback was hobbling by the time the game was over.
Ouch.
And really for Tennessee, that's a good sign. If they could get a defense to go with the offense that they have now, they might be able to play with Georgia a little bit. But we'll have to see what happens, one game at a time, So
what was the kicker in that game in overtime? I guess was just one big play in overtime, or
no? It's the Kansas tiebreaker where each side gets the ball at the 25-yard line. So Tennessee had it the first time. They scored a touchdown, kicked the extra point. Pitt was not able to score, so that resulted in a Tennessee win. So unlike the NFL, the old NFL.
Well, I was kind of joking. I said, "What was the quote unquote kicker?" I meant to say, like, was there one big play or something in overtime?
Yeah, I know. I don't like the way the NFL has done that, but that's another
No,
issue
yeah,
for another
it's
day.
a
Yeah.
issue for another day. Yeah.
This was the game that, dang it, I wish I called it the week before. I can go back to the tape and say that Appalachian State was going to probably give A&M some fits, but I didn't call the upset there. Dadgummit.
You didn't get it?
I didn't call it. Because I went with A&M being at home, supposedly the 6th ranked team in the nation, who I predicted to end up 4th in the West because I've just not been sold on them. And you can look at the abysmal offensive numbers. This is 2 weeks in a row where they've not put up points against a smaller school. Last week they beat Sam Houston, a football championship division team, 31-0 at home. So, and in this game, Texas A&M only had 9 first downs. And look at the time of possession. 23 minutes different in time of possession.
That's
and the
amazing.
Lack of turnovers. Yeah. I mean, and it wasn't all running. I mean, they did run. They did passing. Chase Bryce was for Appalachian State.
That's a crazy stat there. And
I thought you'd like this one. Especially that 22-9 in terms of first downs. That is just domination. That's almost
like the score doesn't reflect the stats, I have to say.
No, and it's almost like keep away in this case, which and
really Appalachian State's obviously not ranked, so and Texas was ranked 6th right going into that game.
Yep, and people picked them to challenge Alabama, because in the West. So, but Chase Bryce was 15 of 30 passing, 134 yards and a touchdown. Cameron Peoples for Appalachian had 19 carries and 112 yards. A&M's bright spot was a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown to tie the game back at 14. And then later in the fourth quarter, Appalachian State kicks what will be the game-winning field goal. So that's the upset that I should have called, but I just didn't have the guts to call it. I just could not believe A&M would lose.
No, most people wouldn't have picked that. Well, of course, turnovers. I was checking the recap, so of course, turnovers there that killed the drive by the Aggies too. So.
Absolutely.
Third quarter, so that's always a killer when you turn that ball over and you're driving. That's a lot tougher to overcome. Yeah.
And then we'll go through some of these. This is a paycheck game. Actually, my oldest kid was at this game. Believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but it
rooting
was
for Sanford.
No, God, no. My failure is complete. Going from a Gator fan to a Dog fan now. But as you see here, Georgia's going to sleptwalk through this game, even though they dominated time of possession 2-1, held Sanford to 3 first downs, and actually held Sanford to 19 yards rushing on 17 carries. It was just, this is like, I don't know if you've heard, I've said it a couple times, but the term paycheck game, are you familiar with that?
No, I haven't heard of that. No.
That is when a team like Sanford, one of these schools that come in to get routed.
Oh, they just get they get the part of the cut, the
anywhere from $800,000 to $1 million. That's why they call it the paycheck game. How about 3 first downs? That is just insane.
But didn't they also almost beat the Gators last year, Sanford? I'm just checking. Weren't they leading at the halftime?
Mark? Yes, they did. They scored like 50-something freaking points on the Gators. The Gators scored 70. Thank God. It was. That's how bad the Gators.
Me,
No, I won't do that to you, Mark. No, I won't do that. Stetson Bennett, the Georgia quarterback, was 24-35 passing for 300 yards and a touchdown passing and touchdown running. I don't know if you've heard about his story, but 3 years ago he was a walk-on at Georgia. He grew up in Georgia, loved Georgia, went there as a walk-on, didn't do anything, really get anywhere. So he went to junior college in Mississippi for a year, went back to Georgia on scholarship, sat behind 2 players ahead of him, and then because of an injury and a guy that melted down, he got the starting job and has never looked back.
That's an incredible story.
It's a good, great story,
yeah.
Hello, Squeaker.
That reminds me of, real quick, movie.
Yeah,
Squeaky Mouse. Hell, yep. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Because I've got a bad short-term memory. So the football movie Grader is on my one of my favorite sports movies. It's about a walk-on, same kind of story, playing college ball. So ball. So check out Grader. It's just amazing movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, it really is one of those good feel good stories because
Yeah.
the other guy that he and Squeaker says howdy to you and me, Mark. Howdy. Um, what is good with his story is that JT Daniels transferred to Georgia from Southern Cal. It's almost like the pay for hire quarterback type thing, and he was going to be the starter, but he got hurt, and then the freshman that was ahead of Bennett just really melted down in the game, and you had to take him, and Bennett went in, performed, and never gave the job back. So it's right place, right time.
Especially QBs. I mean, there was a kid that was playing in our football league and had gotten, selected. I don't know what's the right term. He was going to be the Notre Dame quarterback. Like they grabbed him when he was still in high school, and I don't know if you could recruited him. I don't know if you could sign a letter of intent before in high school. I guess that early, but so he's playing for Notre Dame right now. My son picked him off like two times, and then another game he should have had two interceptions on him and a pick six. That would have been because all the scouts were there. So if he had, we're all yelling at him, teasing him because it was a play in the end zone, and he read it beautifully, but the ball was tipped, so he didn't make the catch. So it kind of looked like he's like, Dad, it was a hard catch. Like I know, but it would have because he's so fast. He would have would have been a pick six against this guy.
Yeah, you could have been recruited by Notre Dame. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Oh God, can we move past this game?
Yeah. So what happened there, Dadman?
I don't know. Ask Squeaker Mouse. She was my guest last week and picked Kentucky to win, and Kentucky did
very
win.
Smart, very smart.
Well, go back and watch. Like I said before, I'll tease it later about how she picked and how the missus picked their 2 weeks, and it's interesting. But
who did you pick, Dadman?
Of course, Florida. But I tell you, I suckered in for the Utah game. The Utah game is what suckered me in. I thought the quarterback had turned the corner. Anthony Richardson is the Gators quarterback. He was 14 of 35 in this game for 143 yards. Threw 2 interceptions. One of them, he looked straight at the defender, threw it right at the defender who went for a touchdown to take the lead that they never got back. And then the other one, what's worse, they had a 16 to 3 lead, or 16 to 7 lead in the second half, in the second quarter, running down. Yeah, the Gators. And Richardson just hands the ball to the defensive end right in front of him on a stupid pass. And then Kentucky got the ball at the 6-yard line and, of course, put it in the end zone. I mean, 14
so
points. So
14 points were
gifts. Actually, it became 13 because they tried a 2-point and
they missed it.
But there was 3 points that they just gave them right there. And like I said, I talked about the Vanderbilt earlier. Look at the heckling I'm getting.
Jeez, the power of cheese. So what was the methodology of
I'll talk about it. Well, the first week Mrs. had it based on points. Mrs. developed a point system with bands, covers, and all this other stuff. So she really picked teams based on a scale. Squeaker last week picked it based on cheese. And how the cheese fell on whichever side or whatever, and that's who. And apparently Kentucky got more cheddar cheese than Florida. So,
wow.
But of course, everybody, if you've not watched our shows, go back and watch the last 2 episodes with these 2 lovely ladies. They were great, and it's fun. And listen to them in your own words about their methodologies. They can definitely do it much better justice than I can. I'm just
obviously their methodology worked better than yours.
Well, I will tell you, Squeaker got 2 games last week that I didn't. She also got the Mississippi-Arizona game with the powered cheese that I didn't get. So
there you go.
And it was only one. We'll see the results in a moment. But Florida is one of those teams that, like I said with Vanderbilt, the quarterback play was so bad it killed them. And that's been my concern with Florida. And I've said it early from the beginning. Florida could end up 2nd to 5th in the SEC East. It's going to depend on, one, their coaching and their quarterback play. And this guy was just bad last week, and he never got better.
They were shut out in the second half, too. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what did not help, too, was one of my concerns with the coaching. He's from a small school, comes up. He's going for 4th and whatever with about 8 minutes left on his own side of the 50. And basically setting Kentucky up for more points instead of punting the ball and playing defense. So, that's the thing with the Gators is, like I said earlier this season in the preview, was coaching experience and decision-making. And can the quarterback, play in the big games, or is he going to be a liability? And that's what really happened last week with this.
But of course, if the coach makes the call, the right call is a god. Like in the the Giants game, and the New York Football Giants this week had an exciting game, and the coach went for the 2-point conversion for the win.
Oh man!
And they got it, and they made it. But everyone, the announcers, and I'm like texting my friend, like, this move sucks. It's horrible. What's he doing? Go for the tie. And of course, as soon as they make it, he's a genius. I love him. He's going to be a great new coach.
Exactly. It always works. You're always the hero when it works,
right?
Not if it doesn't. Well, what's funny with this? See, Kentucky got better quarterback play. Levis was 13 of 24 for 202 yards with a touchdown and a pick. But what's unique about this, Mark, is that Florida won every game for 33 years between 1987 and 2017. They were on such a long 31 years, I believe, is what it was. But in the last 5 games, Kentucky has won 3 of them, and 2 of the last 3 games played in Gainesville. So
that doesn't compute.
No, that does not compute. That's a big insult to a Gator fan. Hits your pride very.
Now you
very
can't
hard.
lose at home, right? Yeah.
No, not at Kentucky or Vanderbilt. But hey, But then again, they lost to Georgia Southern at home years ago. So, and almost lost to Samford last year. But we'll move on.
Yeah. Move on.
Move on. I killed that one enough. But anyway, this is another flyover game, paycheck game. Ole Miss beats Central Arkansas 59-3. Even though Central Arkansas had more time of possession, than Ole Miss.
How the heck does that happen? How the heck does that happen with
bigger plays, shorter drives?
All they do, they just get the ball and score. I guess.
Yards, yeah. 4 big turnovers. So, and then Ole Miss quarterbacks combined for 4 touchdowns passing and an interception. Receiver Michael Trigg for Ole Miss had 5 receptions. 3 of those were for touchdowns. Auburn survives the scare with San Jose State, 24-16. Auburn's been predicted by a lot of people to end up last in the SEC West, and I think this is a good indicator of why. The fact that they played a smaller, weaker West Coast team at home and tanked and barely eked out a win. Chevin Cordero was for San Jose State was 24-40 for 275 yards passing. The Spartan defense, this is a big story, held the all SEC running back Tank Bigsby to 51 yards on 13 carries. That was a big takeaway from the Auburn offense. Spartans led at 10-7 at halftime, but were outscored 17-6 in the second half. There's not much more to say about that than that's. There's danger signs in Auburn already.
You're saying Auburn should have won by a lot more, and
if they were where they should be, that this game shouldn't have been close.
Should have been, yeah. It should have been a paycheck game, right?
Yeah, it should have been a paycheck game, and the fans go home happy. And there's always rumors that the Auburn's coach is in jeopardy even before the season start, and that he's only been there 1 year. So,
you win, but you don't win by enough, so you're out of here.
I tell you, Auburn's had coaches like Gus Malzahn, Gene Chizik that won national titles, and within 3 years they run them off.
What have you done for me lately?
I know it's like I know Gator fans are impatient, but geez. And here, like Mrs. says, the coach is revered or despised depending on the last play call.
Yeah,
so how that goes.
Great.
Hey, Castle.
Yeah.
Welcome to our show, Castle. Glad to have you here tonight.
Hey, Castle.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. We're getting. We're winding down for the weekend review, and then LSU Southern. This was a paycheck game. 2 schools that are very close together down there in Clobby's area. Not much to really be said here. I mean, it's one-sided affair. LSU had 9 touchdowns, 5 on the ground, 3 passing, and an interception return for a touchdown. But Southern did have 200 yards rushing on the LSU defense, averaging 4.8 yards per carry, which is not anything to be slouch about and could bode ill for LSU down the road when they play Arkansas, a team like that has a dominant running game.
LSU scored 37 points in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's off of a bunch of turnovers. So because some of those were pretty short drives.
I think the interception return was also in the first quarter also. So that's the safety. So,
but that's too short. 21-yard drive and 24-yard drive often.
Well, 5 turnovers too. So
yeah.
When you get the ball in such good position, then you're it makes you wonder how they got 550 yards total offense with those drives.
58-0 at one point in the third quarter. So wow, Clobber Townsend's been happy about that.
Oh, and then the nightcap game on the West Coast, Mississippi State Bulldogs went on the road to beat Arizona 39-17. The air raid offense is in effect this year. They're actually doing pretty well. The former Washington State head coach, he a lot of criticism in SEC, with a different style of play, but look at that. They had the ball 36 minutes to 23 minutes, and they did it even passing. You normally would think a lot of running would be in order to have time of possession, but controlled passing game, when you look at Will Rogers, was 39 of 49 for only 313 yards, meaning he's got a lot of short passes. But he was effective with 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. Jaden DeLaura of Arizona was 23 of 45 for 220 yards, but only 1 touchdown to 3 interceptions.
Well, my relatives in Arizona are not happy.
No, probably not. But I tell you what, West Coast football is fun. You stay up to 2 o'clock in the morning playing Fortnite while you're listening to the game.
Yeah, and watching the game, right? Yep.
Yep, exactly. And the Bulldogs outscored the Wildcats 21-7 in the second half. So that again was another cheese game that happened last week that was like, hey, I didn't get it. So let's see where the SEC stands overall. After 2 weeks of action, Kentucky now is the top of the East, being the only team that has won a game on the East side, 2-0. Georgia and Tennessee also. Vanderbilt's at 2-1. Florida and South Carolina are tied in the basement at 0-1 in the conference, 1-1 overall. Arkansas leads in the West because they have the one conference win. Everybody else is tied for second because they haven't played a conference game. But you see there's 2-0s. LSU and A&M are 1-1 at this point. Let's see.
So who would did you pick excuse me, beginning of the season, did you pick the SEC finalists, or you make picks like you picked the yep.
There is a preseason special that's on my YouTube and Twitch channel where I did predict the finishes up and down the conference, and then basically I've got people can go back and watch that again. Basically, I've got the no surprise Georgia and Alabama facing off, and I've got Alabama winning it this year.
Okay.
So
I probably did watch that. I'm just forgetting.
Yeah, it's.
I think I did watch your first show. Yep.
Yeah, I tell you, it was a lot of stuff in there. So, but yeah, we did do that. So,
it's good that you can always go back and hey, I got it right at the end of the season. You can say, yeah.
Well, like I said, one of the things I did say, Florida, I thought was going to be a wild card in the East. It was going to depend on the coaching and the quarterback play, and sadly, I mean, when I said that they could end up second or fifth, that meant they could be very good or very bad. It just, and they were very good against Utah, very bad against Kentucky. So you know how that goes.
Yep.
Well, Mark,
college, football too. I mean, just there's not a ton of games, so it's not like baseball where you get in a little slump, you lose a couple of games, but football you lose, especially when you lose to a team that you're not supposed to lose to. Mm-hmm. Then that's a real killer.
You'd rather lose early in the season because you might be able to make it up in the polls down the road.
Yeah, you get a run. Yeah,
better opponents. But some people like Utah, when they were talking, there was rumors about them for a national championship or playoff spot, but that pretty much died when they lost to Florida, because there is bias against certain conferences with it only being a 4-team playoff,
Yeah.
you've got to be near perfect unless you're Alabama or Georgia or, one of those teams in a conference where you can be forgiven for having a loss at some point.
Yeah, because traditionally, before if you'd lost the game in college football, you weren't going to be ranked number one. I mean, I mean, you have one, if you had 2 losses, you were in big trouble. But didn't Alabama have 2 losses last year? Or
Well,
I'm trying to remember.
Alabama had a couple of years ago when they played LSU. I think they had 2 losses, but last year, Alabama, Georgia played. Alabama won the SEC championship game, which meant they went in. Georgia got the 4th spot in the playoff system. Yeah. So then they ended up facing each other in the national title game, and then Georgia won. So they both ended up with 1 loss. But that was a case where Georgia, even though they had a loss late in the year, was ranked so high, and because of who they lost,
they were able to escape it.
They were not punished. Yeah. So it's definitely a weird system, and the talk is that they may expand it to 12 teams at some point, which I hope they do, because frankly, the old bowl system is archaic and gone anyway, especially when you have to pay $40 to go watch an exhibition game that doesn't mean anything, and that's cheap tickets.
Yeah, it's not like, I'm growing up, like, you remembered watching football on, New Year's Day and all the bowl games, and it was a big deal, and it mattered who got into what bowl, and then of course you had the coach's poll at the end of the season. But now with the new FCS system, which is a better system, I mean, having playoffs, but then it kind of neuters the importance of the Doritos Bowl, I guess, or so
or the Duke's Mayo Bowl.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a bowl game special down the road, and I know I'm going to have the misses on for that, but I got somebody else in mind to come on that one. I know they'll have fun making fun of the bowl game names. There are all kinds of weird sponsorship.
Yeah, now they've gone so crazy. But
it used to be like the Independence Bowl. Now it's the Poulon 2K whatever bowl. And,
the Depends Bowl.
Yeah, Depends Bowl.
But like as my son said, he's up. We'll talk about Syracuse maybe a little bit, but
go ahead.
They're they did destroy UConn this week. So being in the Northeast, football is you've got Rutgers, you've got Syracuse, you've got Boston College, and UConn actually. It's been a long time since UConn was good in football, but maybe it's about 8 years ago they had decent bowl performance and scared a few teams, but since then it's been downhill. So normally you root for UConn for basketball.
They've been really bad though, haven't they? I mean,
really bad. I mean,
bad, but bad.
Bad. Yeah, like they had some glimmers of hope, but it's really all the best players. Not that Connecticut's a football powerhouse, but we do have some good players in the Northeast. But all the good, the best players just go, SEC or Big Ten or big, big conferences. So it's and football is really tough to build a program too. It's not like basketball where UConn was able to, with Jim Calhoun, recruit a couple of really good guys, Tate George and a couple of guys, and then you have some role players, and you can with good coaching, you can get a team going, and once your program's established, then you're not saying you're guaranteed to win, but it's a lot easier to recruit those players to tell them to go to you want to go to Alabama or do you want to go to UConn?
Exactly.
What's you want to go to the Yankees? You want to go to the Bad News Bears?
Exactly.
So my son, of course, he's at the college football experience is just like we went to a game last year at Syracuse. Of course, with the vid stuff, it was kind of not as much fun because of. I won't get into that, but just because of that, it was wasn't as much fun, But we did tailgate, and there's nothing like tailgating, even if it's it's your son's school or kid's school or son. As much it was UConn and Syracuse are big rivals. So I'm never rooting for Syracuse in basketball.
Is the rivalry the same in football as it is in basketball?
No, because I don't think because the UConn football hasn't been good for so long. So, in basketball they're both elite programs. There's always.
Let me ask you here then, since we segue into this, what are your favorite college football teams? Or I know UConn.
Yeah, well, that's what I was gonna say. Like, my brother-in-law went to Rutgers, and I've started rooting for Alabama because my other brother-in-law went there.
Mhm.
So I was actually at the Rutgers Michigan game when Rutgers beat Michigan. Was it
Yeah.
5 years ago? So that was like, the things the Rutgers fans still talk about. So Rutgers is always on the cusp of like, maybe we'll be really good this year. That doesn't happen, but I mean, I've been to a bunch of the games. Got to say, it's a lot of fun to go to these games with the tailgating and or going to see the Army Navy game. Talk about.
Have you been to that game?
Yeah, I've been to that. Yeah.
What is
So,
that like? What I mean, I mean,
well, you've got all
I've
the
been in the
service
parade of cadets
academies.
and all, but what's it
Yeah,
like in person?
you got all the service academies there. So of course, everyone cheers for both teams, right? Because they're both representing our country. Because I got friends in the Army, friends in the Navy. So they kind of like give digs at each other, but everyone was cheering. I saw them at Yankee Stadium once. I've seen them, different sites. So they play at a neutral site too. But really great sportsmanship, and also they're loaded with all the service academy kids, or young men and women, I should say, uh, there. So it's a great atmosphere in the crowd too, and very patriotic. So
Mm-hmm.
very patriotic, and national anthem was, everyone was cheering, and you're rooting for all the players in the team, but you get the rivalries. Like, I got my buddy who went, a couple of Army buddies versus a couple of Navy buddies, and they're chewing each other out, saying a lot of insults that I can't say about the Army and the Navy on, the Navy guys swear really well. So yeah, but it's like a
Yeah.
good natured kind of ribbon. But that's those are, so if you ever have a chance to go, check out an Army Navy game, uh, it's one of those great experiences. So that's
Well,
a lot of fun.
that's neat to hear about your experiences with those games and those teams. I just want to take a moment here with Castle here. College football games are great fun. He said I've been to a few Florida games with my dad, and Castle, like I have great memories of going to some games with my dad. I remember with my dad and my uncle in the 1970s, they played a game against LSU in Gainesville. I remember that because it was not the big god awful stadium it is now, but it was like old. It was like a vine covered wall with metal gates. You went and walked down into the north end zone. With my dad and my uncle, I remember we would, some games we go to, we'd go early and hit the Sonny's on Walter. Was it Walter Road? It was the original Sonny's restaurant barbecue. Uh, it was like a standard hit thing, we went to. The only thing I didn't like, I remember my uncle trying to get me to eat bagels out of some bagel shop, and I'm like, oh God, no. Then you said sour cream, I'm like, oh, even worse, no. But
We'll make a
it
New York out of you, Dad, man. Come on.
oh
We gotta
gosh,
have some bagels and cream cheese.
I can't deal with cheese, cream cheese.
Oh,
I'm
it's so
sure.
good.
I'm sure I just started a riot in the chat with that comment. So,
Throw some locks on there too.
oh my gosh! But yes, I mean, great memory. If you bear with me, I know this is part for you. There was one game with my dad that I remembered, and I think my uncle went with us too. My mother had bought us, and it was in December. We don't get that much cold weather down here, but it was Florida and Iowa playing in the
What's
Gator
cold for
Bowl.
you? 50 degrees? Just kidding.
This was almost single digits this night.
Okay, all right. I'll give you that
So
one. Yep.
remember back in the old days with bleacher seats, the metal bleachers.
Oh, the cold metal with no back, and you could,
Yes,
if you dropped your keys, you'd never find them again.
my mother bought us silk underwear that year. I wore long johns that night. My dad decided to wear the silky underwear my mom bought him with only one layer of pants. So I got the joy of hearing my dad complain about his ass being cold all damn night.
It's called bringing a blanket, Dad.
It's like he's like, I mean, he talked about that for weeks about how his butt never thawed out. But those are cool memories like that. I just had to share that one. So
Those are all fun. Yeah, no, because we,
yeah,
my son was playing football. You go to every game, obviously, and
hmm
you play, 14 years, I guess, through, from you start from Pop Warner, and then of course we had the right away we bought those seats. Those seats that clip onto the bleachers,
oh
and they
yeah,
got padding. So, and then one time I have a little Mr. Buddy heater propane heater that I would bring sometimes in the stands. and it's got a flame. So one time then I put my winter coat on my lap to kind of warm up, and then the jacket arm like went into the heater, like melted it. It's like crap, my good winter. So I had to like buy the special tape that yeah, so yeah, I should have used they were men, they don't use blankets. So
No.
yeah.
Oh,
You get
God.
the wool army blanket. Those are those to sit on. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
hilarious.
you know why they didn't use blankets? And they were idiots because then they complained about it for like a month later, right?
Well, that's what we do. We complain about it.
Yep.
Well, it sounds
Well, the
cool.
other
Go ahead,
well, I
Mark.
was
Go
gonna say
ahead.
another memory I have too is was my son was getting recruited going to all these teams and for college, and he was not that he was an okay player, not he ended up blowing out his ACL
Oh,
unfortunately, but then he's doing track in college now, but then of course the vid hit, so that would have screwed up his football anyway. But
yeah.
we got to go. The Yale Ball is an incredible stadium to visit. I don't know if you've ever been up north but it's just the look of the stadium. So it's like basically in the ground, so it doesn't look like there's a stadium anywhere. But then
Mm-hmm.
when you get there, here, you don't mind if I show a couple pictures or if I
No, go
Google?
ahead. Go ahead.
Be fun for because I don't have a ton of uh, college games I went to, but this is
we get to practice something.
yeah. So you can add that add
Hey.
that. So this is in Connecticut. So we got there. You go, Dadman. Nice job.
All right. I'm learning.
So here's and I think Yale finally went turf now. There were grass for like when my son was there. They were saying they were going to go turf. But see, I mean, it's a really cool stadium. It's awesome, old school college bowl, but it's pretty damn big. I don't know what the seating is, maybe 30. I'm not sure what it is. So, but when you're outside the stadium, you can't see that it's there because it's dug. It's the Yale Bowl,
Mm-hmm.
and the New York Football Giants used to practice there too.
That's a
So
beautiful
I'm trying to
stadium.
find a picture of when everyone's they
That
have
looks like a
concerts there.
concert. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's like this berm around it, right? So you got this berm.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, cough button, and
Okay, no problem.
and I'm trying to see like a picture of like where you can get kind. Well, here's that kind of gives you a feel for it. So it's like this big, massive stadium, but it's dug down into the ground. So I guess here's where they're building it. Wow, that's pretty cool. So and for Yale as a school, they're obviously an Ivy League school. They're not contending for anything now,
Mm-hmm.
but that was that's a huge stadium for around here, and this is the main gates when you go in. So my
Wow.
son, we went to for that recruiting day there, and what was really cool is you get to go into the locker room,
Mm-hmm.
and then they open the doors up, and there's a tunnel coming down. I'm trying to see if I see a picture, but it's kind of like this view, but it's an underground tunnel, and they just open, and they've got the locker room. They've got a lot of famous quotes from players and numbers that are retired and quotes about the team. And then when they open these hidden doors with the logo on it, and boom, you can see this tunnel just going down right into the stadium.
Mm.
And it's just let's see if I can do tunnel here, and just maybe someone's got a picture. But here we go. Here's the view. So you've got or that's one of the is that one? Well, that's I'm trying to see one from the lock. I mean, it was probably not one from the locker room, but here's the kids walking down the tunnel. It's like a big tunnel going down. So it's just really cool, atmosphere, and to see that, just thinking of all the players that went there and played there and went through that tunnel. And actually, one of the guys that I'm on a volunteer board with, he was actually quarterback at Yale. Someone's older and you don't, the guy's, in his 60s plus, I'm guessing. And then I looked up his stats, and he was an amazing quarterback at Yale. And you make assumptions about people, right? And it's like
Yeah.
he was a top Yale quarterback, and but it's just a lot of great tradition in college football. That's what's I think what's fun about it too, and enjoyable. you've got all that, the legacy of being in a college, which, and then you're rooting for your school, right? You're always going to root for Florida no matter what, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. No matter what. So, yeah,
They lose and let you down.
Yeah, they lose, you win and die with them. You hate them, you love them. It's you stick with them, and all kinds of weather. We'll all stick together.
Right.
I don't want to get copyright stricken already singing the "We Are the Boys" song. The girls and I, when they were kids, small, and I could brainwash them and make them do what I wanted them to do. The Gators always between third and fourth quarter had they sang the song "We Are the Boys." It's not alma mater, but it's just kind of like a school song type thing. And they sway at the games and all that. When the girls were young, I made them do that, and they always did it, not questioning. But that lasted probably about 6 or 7 years, and then it was like, okay, no more, Dad. It's done. But yeah, those traditions that make a lot. They're what really make the game, at least to me, and stuff like that. Things like tailgating too, because what. So when you go, I presume that you're the main cook for the tailgate, right?
Oh yeah, yep. I mean,
what
the
is your
missus
favorite?
will make.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, as I say, the missus will make her like meatballs. Like she
Yeah.
makes these spicy meatballs, and like a couple of things she'll make, or the healthy vegetable dip stuff.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if we're allowed to talk about that in a
No. We want all beef and bacon and stuff. But what would you say is your favorite or your go-to tailgating item?
Okay, Great question. So, I mean, my favorite, well, of course, wings. You got to have some good wings. So, you got, and it's really easy to screw up wings too. I have to say, it's tough to make them. You get a good. So I've had so many mushy chicken wings, or just wings that are just no flavor. So, you got to have good chicken wings are a must. I mean, for tailgating, right? You got to have that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You got to have Doritos, right? I'm talking simple simple stuff right now. You got to have some Doritos, peanuts, of course your beverages too. You got to have some beer, right? Vegetables, yeah.
Yep.
And
I got a story for that one. Go ahead.
I probably chili. Like for the Super Bowl, for years I've been making chili. So I use a ton of onions in my chili. That's kind of my thing. I have like 12 onions or something. It's mostly
now, do you use beans or no beans in your chili?
Beans. I use beans. And of course, my daughter went. Am I allowed to say went vegetarian? Now she's a pescatarian. So I would always make a batch for her with just beans. And it's actually pretty good too. I get you with all the seasoning, and I always put a lot of alcohol in my chili. So I put brandy or rum in my chili. That's another secret ingredient.
Whatever it takes. Well, that's cool. That's good to hear, Mark.
Oh, and the other I got to mention one other. I babble a lot, but sorry.
No, go ahead.
The other one that's
you're at home here with that, so go ahead.
Yeah. The other I love Rotel and the I know you're not a cheese fan, but the the Rotel with the Velveeta. And you just put a can of the spicy Rotel in your Velveeta and heat that up in the microwave. Yeah. And you got your chips with those. I mean, that's a great dip. And then, of course, here, why don't I show some of my tailgating food, right? I mean,
Go ahead.
And of course, my other really good one to make. This is it's a really big hit with everyone. Let's see if I'm scrolling down, then I'll share my screen.
Okay.
Really big hit is always they're called Moink balls, or they're bacon wrapped meatballs.
Oh, I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to see if I got a picture of those. Let's see.
Well, while you're looking for the picture, to Castle's vegetables comment, I quit. I refuse to eat vegetables anymore at any football game after Tim Tebow's last game in college in the Sugar Bowl, because was nice and healthy. I got Triscuits, I got carrot sticks, I got celery, and then about the third quarter, I realized I didn't have a big tooth in the back of my mouth, and I don't know what happened.
Oh no!
It broke my molar back there. It's like so that you get hurt by the good stuff,
That's horrible.
Exactly. So I don't eat carrots anymore.
So it was the healthy stuff that got you?
It wasn't the wings or the pizza and all. It was the healthy stuff.
They got you right. Yep.
Absolutely. So.
All right, well, here's some pictures of ribs I found. Now, where the heck is my picture
Hey,
of
folks,
the...
if y'all have not eaten, you're going to get hungry now. Get ready to hit the Waffle House later, missus.
right?
Being healthy kills confirmed. Yes. Agreed, Castle. All right. Have you got the pictures up?
Yeah, give me 1 second here because
Okay.
I'm going to put them into an album so I don't
Okay. Yeah, I
dox
got you.
myself.
I got you. Yeah, Mrs. always reminds me of that too, about the
Not
screen,
that it
slide
matters that
screen.
much.
Well, with the slide screen, she's always like, make sure you got it full size, and make sure you don't have stuff behind it, just in case. This StreamYards have been actually pretty fun and pretty easy to use.
Yeah, no, it's pretty good. But one time I was showing like an envelope, it was like, oh, it had my home address on it. Maybe I should have done that. That wasn't so good. Yep. So I'm making a food. I'd been doing this anyway. I was making a food, like a food folder in Google. So I had all the foods separate. I'm trying to find my meat. You know what I have to do? I have to go to find a game, and then it's got the meatballs in them because I'm doing a search on. If you have your stuff on Google Photos, you can do.
Mark, if you don't mind,
30 seconds. Yep.
Okay, because I could go ahead and preview the top 25 while
you. Oh yeah, start, and I'll look. Yep,
yeah. Okay. Well, just let me know when you find them. So, this week's top 25 are the results of last week's action. We had its flip in the top 25 on the AP side. Georgia flipped Alabama to the number 1 spot. The SEC has 4 of the top 10 in the country, 5 of the top 15 teams in the nation. Tennessee moved up 9 spots after its win over Pittsburgh. A&M dropped 18 spots to 24th. Kentucky and Arkansas cracked the top 10. So, a lot of movement. The conference is pretty well represented in the AP top 25. And then we, in the coaches poll, Alabama stayed in the number 1 spot, although it was by a very thin 18-point margin. Kentucky and Arkansas are 10 and 11. You've got the same 8 teams that are in the top 25 here, really in the same general areas in both polls. So, yeah, the conference is solid already. 8 of the 14 teams are in the top 25 at this point. Let's see. What about Florida? We talked about Florida earlier. Thank you. Wait till you.
So where are they going to end up next week, Dadman? They're gonna drop, right?
Well, this week it shouldn't be a problem. It's next week when they play Tennessee on the road. That's going to be a killer game, I think so. So, let's see. All right, do you have your slides, Mark?
2 more seconds. I'm good.
Okay,
I'm
no
close.
problem.
Yep.
Well, that's the top 25, folks. Okay, go ahead.
I'm close. I'm just saving some pictures here. Yep, put them in an album. So, I found the bacon wrap meatballs. Yep. So here we go,
folks. Listen, you can't listen. It's worth the time for Mark to get his food pictures out. It's like I said, we may end up at the Waffle House before the night's over. We had dinner earlier.
Waffle House, good. Yep.
Yeah, bacon.
Bacon. Yeah, so you'll see some bacon here, Dadman. So
all right,
you'll appreciate this. So let me add this to this album here.
Yeah,
because we always digress into talking about food on my channel, even though we're talking about Sunday Night Geekery, and it's going to be talking about how awesome She-Hulk was this week, right? How much you love the She-Hulk show.
Oh, I love it so much I haven't watched it. So. I'm trying to stay in the sports.
Just kidding. All
right. Yeah, but it's if y'all haven't seen Mark's, if you haven't followed Mark on Twitter, I mean, the food pictures he has is amazing. So it really goes over the top, makes you hungry at midnight. All right, here we go.
All right, so this is just all random food pictures, but here's some ribs from a tailgate I did. Of course, those are kind of oversauced, but I'd bring these to the tailgate, and of course, us Northerners up here, there's no good barbecue. My brother-in-law wrecked it for me because I used to like, fall off the bone barbecue, which is, as he told me, he's like, if anyone tells you the rib should fall off the bone, he's like, you're not winning competition if it's like that. So, this is my chili here. I'll flip through that. And there's beans. Sorry, there's some vegetables there. So
that's
cooking my chili.
Well, beans and chili is a perfectly acceptable vegetable.
Yeah. So you got some brown sugar. And there's you got to have plenty of alcohol in your chili.
Really, so I've never had alcohol in a chili. I don't know how that'd turn out.
Oh, it turns out good. Trust me, it warms you right up.
Can you actually get a buzz off the alcohol, or does it cook out?
No, it kind of burns off after.
Okay, I just was curious.
You get the flavor. It adds a really good flavor, and then it reduces. So, plus it just sounds good, right? So, sorry, I should give a warning if you don't want to see animals here. There's the whole pig in the box.
Yep.
And there's the little piggy. So that's a big tailgate I did. We cook a whole pig every Labor Day, and sometimes we'll do it for like a big birthday. And there's my smoker with some ribs on them. So I'd show up at the football games, and people up here usually have like the cheese dips, or the nachos, or like standard tailgate stuff. And I show up with these ribs, and then I always save some for the players. So like at the end of the game, I go in the locker room, and the kids would be like, "Charlie, is your dad gonna bring us any food today?"
Mark, you're a Southern man at heart.
So this is of course, we're going to get to the nerd geekness of it. Of course, you have to have a CyberQ Wi-Fi fan controller for your barbecue.
Oh my gosh.
So it controls the temperature of the smoker. Now, I can cook without this gadget. I do plenty of cooks. I can do a cook without it. I know how to adjust it, just in case my brother-in-law's out there teasing me. They're going to tease me, but you can set the temperature. You can monitor on Wi-Fi, and it sends you a report of all your your cook temps. You get the pit temp, and then 4 thermometer temps
Mark,
in there.
Mark, that you mentioned the nerd geekery with that. You got to show that to our friend Raquel to show how sports can be nerdy geeky with something like that. That is awesome. I love that.
Right? There's another batch of ribs. Yep.
Absolutely.
That's at a tailgate. Yeah, because you always sauce them up more for a tailgate.
Well, Mark, do you prefer sauce or rub? It looks like you prefer sauces to rubs.
Well,
right?
it's all dry rubs. So these are dry rubs that I do, or salt and pepper is actually comes out really great. As much as I hate to admit it, salt and pepper if you do it right. And but then when you're like at a game, you kind of sauce them up so they're people like that, but they come out so good in a smoker. It's like one of my friends, we're up here, and he's like, "Well, I'll cook ribs for dinner. We're going to a barbecue party or like a picnic, and everyone's potluck bringing something." I'm like, "Yeah, but Pete doesn't have a smoker." So he's like, "Well, I cook them for 8 hours in the oven." I'm like, and they were like, "Try it out." They're like, "Pete, please do not volunteer to cook ribs unless you have a smoker."
Nope. The only person that I know that can cook ribs in an oven is Mrs. Dadman Walking. She has the ability to, I don't know what she does, but she has the ability to make ribs very nicely that are not dried out. But yes, I agree with
you don't get that smoker. You don't get that smoker.
You don't get the smoker flavor, but still, I mean, but I know what you mean about drying it out, because some people boil them and then put them in oven and things like that. But I mean, there's no substitute for a real smoker.
And this is a camping. That's a apple crisp pie cooked on a campfire. It'll be cooked in a Dutch oven. There's a Dutch oven down here.
Well, guess what, Mark? We're already making plans. All
right. Well, let me skip through. Let me go back and show the. I'll skip. Yeah, I mean, it gets boring.
Says he's never been to Waffle House, but the food looks fantastic.
And these are beef ribs. Oh, if you ever a chance to cook beef ribs. This was a good cook here. All these ribs and beef ribs. And I get to the meatballs. Yep. So, this was actually a great place in Texas. We went to. What was the name of it's a famous barbecue place. I'm forgetting the name of it. Let's see here.
We're at Texas.
It was in. It'll tell me, right? Where's the map here? Does it show me the map? Deep Ellum. So it was in what was the name of that barbecue place? There we go. Was that Pecan Lodge? Yep. So if you're ever in that area of Texas, check that place out, because that was some seriously good barbecue.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, those look
Pecan
good.
Lodge, yep.
Those look good.
And this is always a good picture to look at, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. When your cookouts, yeah. Ribs aplenty.
And let's
Ribs
get to this.
aplenty.
I'm showing too much food, but let's go
I
to.
know.
There's my son there, so I was teaching him how to do the ribs. Yep.
Yeah.
And here's the
You know,
famous,
yeah.
famous, famous bacon wrapped meatballs. So you can buy the. I usually do the homemade meatballs.
Mm-hmm.
Make them from scratch, but I was kind of pressed for time. So it's a simple recipe, but you can buy your meatballs or make meatballs, and but you got to put your barbecue rub on them. So whatever you do with your rub for your ribs, there's a bunch of recipes I like, so you get kind of like a barbecue flavor with them.
Yep.
And then what you do, you wrap the bacon around your meatball, and then there's the barbecue rub thrown on there. So it's a rub with like some brown sugar, salt, pepper, all kinds of spices, onion powder, garlic powder. And then what you do, you can actually cook it. Usually I hit in the oven. I do it in the oven first, and then I'll finish them on the grill if I have time.
Mm-hmm.
So then they won't overcook. But then you put barbecue sauce on them, so to glaze them. And there's a rack of pineapple that's not destined for pizza, but I always cook pineapple too with any pork or. And the secret on that one is black pepper.
Okay.
On your pineapple. Now, do I have? Here we go. Here's the done ones, right? So there was one defensive lineman for the football team. He's like, Mr. Ducray, you make the best food ever. He's like, I always look forward to having your bacon wrapped meatballs. So you can imagine like a 300+ pound defensive lineman scarfing these down.
Oh, I bet. I mean, that whole trade probably feed him at once. See, we started again. The castle's hungry. Oh no,
Sorry,
not the. I agree. It's pecan. Well, see, the missus
pecan.
Yeah.
Pecan, whatever, however you say it, the place was damn good.
Looks dangerous, delicious, and dangerous. Yes, it does, Mark. It definitely does. Well, thanks for sharing those pictures, though, Mark.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, man, God, we can talk forever just on pictures and stuff.
I hope everyone had dinner.
Well, like I said, we'll run to the Waffle House again. So. Well, we'll move on. And thanks again for all this. That was awesome. So
it's fun to show.
Yeah, yep. Exactly. So we'll get back to the boring old football part of it with this week's games that are coming up.
We're going to discuss our tailgate first of the game. Just kidding. Yeah.
I mean, we've spent a whole 3-hour show on tailgating. So, hey.
Yeah.
So basically in the conference this week, there's some out-of-conference games. Youngstown State's at Kentucky. Abilene Christian at Missouri. Those are kind of just blah games. First big game of the week is Georgia at South Carolina within the conference. Georgia leads the all-time series at 53-19 with 2 ties, which, Mark, I think it was about 96. They changed the rule that got rid of ties. So, but there's still some ties in these
series.
Ties
left, right? Yeah.
The first meeting between the two schools occurred November 3rd, 1894.
Wow.
With Georgia winning 40-0. The last meeting was September 18th, 2021. Georgia won 40-13. Georgia comes in 2-0 with wins over Oregon and Samford. South Carolina is 1-1 with wins over Georgia State and the loss at Arkansas. Georgia has outscored its opponents 82-3 so far this year, while South Carolina has outscored their opponents 65-58. Basically, at this point, with South Carolina be at home, can they force Stetson Bennett to make mistakes, turn the ball over, slow down the Georgia offense? But then in South Carolina's case, even with the experienced quarterback, can they produce points against that Georgia defense that's only given up 3 points all year?
3 points all year. Think about that. Yeah.
And they played Oregon, too, which is not necessarily a slouch team. And last year, Georgia only gave up 10 points a game, too. So they really become a very well-known team for defense. So you got to score some to win it, too. So we'll move over to the next game. One of interest up in Mark's region, Penn State at Auburn. Penn State comes in number 22. In the country, the all-time series, Penn State leads 2-1. the last game occurred September 18th, 2021, with Penn State won 28-20. The previous two meetings were in bowl games. In 96 on New Year's Day, where Penn State won the Outback Bowl 43-14, and New Year's Day of 2003, where Auburn won the Citrus Bowl 13-9. Auburn has wins over Mercer 42-16 and San Jose State 23-16, while Penn State had a big road win at Purdue 35-31, and then beat Ohio University 46-10. Questions in this game, really, as Mark, as you know, it's a different climate up north. How will Penn State travel and play in the heat down here in the South? Conditions.
Yeah, it's early in the season. Yep.
Exactly. I remember the Utah game against Florida. You could see one guy vomiting for Utah, just vomiting on the field. They didn't even shy that away, and then crampings and stuff. That type of stuff. Will it what effect will the weather play? And for Auburn specifically, can Bixby get back on track and run for at least 100, 150 yards to help carry that Auburn offense, which will sputter a lot.
So are we giving our picks now, or waiting?
We'll wait. We're going to preview,
yep.
And then we'll do the picks right after this.
Okay. Yep.
So, and then other games of note are Mississippi at Georgia Tech, SEC, ACC. Could be of interest, but they're sort of balanced, but Mississippi should have an edge over Georgia Tech, which is still struggling to convert from a wishbone, running offense from a few years ago to something of a pro-style offense. And then Vanderbilt at Northern Illinois. Question: will Vanderbilt bounce back, or will they be return to Vanderbilt form? So that could be answered this week. Louisiana Monroe, sorry, Duck Dynasty boys at Alabama, another paycheck game. We got Mississippi State at LSU, another big game this week. LSU leads the all-time series 76-36 with 3 ties. The longest win streak for LSU has been 14 games. Mississippi State has won 5 in a row at the longest point. Last year, LSU won the game in Starkville, Mississippi, 28-25. Mississippi State won the previous year in Baton Rouge, 44-34. But in this series, LSU has won 19 of the last 22 games dating back to 2000. So it's been a very heavily dominated series by LSU.
That's slightly one-sided, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like on the Florida-Tennessee, Florida-Kentucky, at least used to be Kentucky's scale. So LSU comes in 1-1 with a loss to FSU with a block extra point at the end of the game, and then a rout of Southern 65-17, while Mississippi State has wins over Memphis 49-23 and at Arizona 39-17. So if the big question is LSU playing at home gives them an advantage. If it was in Starkville, hey, Mark, do you know where you go if you want cowbell?
Where do I go if I want more cowbell?
Starkville, Mississippi. The home of they you know how most stadiums have prohibitions against noisemakers? They don't.
Have no cowbells?
They have cowbells all places. Actually, when they came here for a bowl game, they made an exception and let them bring their dang cowbells everywhere. The whole city was infested with cowbell that weekend. Anyway.
Are they Swiss? God, Swiss love their cowbells too. Yep.
They might be. Who knows? Well, we'll wrap up the previews this week with a couple more flyover paycheck games. Missouri State at Arkansas, Akron at Tennessee should be no problems. South Florida at Florida. 15 years ago, this could have been a very good game because South Florida was an up-and-coming program, but they've really gone in the tank since then. So this should be a not worth spending a lot of time on here with this. And the last game of the week is the Miami Hurricanes at the Texas A&M Aggies. Miami leads the all-time series 2-1. A&M won the first matchup in 1944, 70-14. And Miami's won the last 2 in a home-and-home series in 07 and 08. A&M's coming off the loss at home to Appalachian State and a poor showing against Sam Houston, while Miami has wins over Bethune-Cookman and Southern Miss at home. Question is, can Miami score against the A&M defense? Can they put up enough points? Even though A&M may be struggling on offense, the defense is still very effective and tough to score against. And can, A&M improve on offense? That's going to come to tell the tape. Some people complain that Jimbo Fisher's offense is too complicated for college, and that may be causing some of the problem, or maybe he should give up play calling duties. But we'll see what happens. But I heard an interesting stat because the boosters at A&M pulled together a lot of money to pay off the previous coach to get Jimbo Fisher there, a ton of money to get him from FSU. In the same time that Jimbo Fisher has coached now, the previous coach had won one more game than Jimbo Fisher has won so far.
It's not a very good return on investment, you're saying.
I wouldn't think so, but then again, I don't really have much nice to say about Texas A&M. So, and I won't even go to what 50% of a filled stadium is. I'll tell you off air. But math does not add up, and accountants love our math. So with that, Mark, we're going to go into our pick section.
All right.
Before we do it, we want to see where we stand. Overall, last week I was 8-4. The great Squeak-a-Mouse with using the Chiefs methodology, and I encourage you to go watch the program last week.
That's pretty damn good.
7-5, and like I said,
very respectable.
Got the Kentucky and the Mississippi State. Had the Chiefs said Georgia over Samford, we would have been both 8-4.
Yeah, and 8-4 is pretty respectable. That's a good pick rate. Yeah,
that's awesome.
No, you're not. This is straight up picks, right? No.
Oh yes, thank you for the reminder. Yes.
Yeah,
folks, this is all entertainment only. This is for grins. This is straight up winners, losers. There's no points. This is not a gambling site. If you want to lose your money, fine, whatever. Don't listen to me. This is just strictly for fun and the fun of my guests to sit here, screw around, and have some fun with this game.
Yeah.
So, because you can't talk college football without picking some winners and losers,
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you, Mark, for that nice reminder. What would we do without our great guests that know what they're doing on YouTube? So let's jump in real quick with this. Okay, so this week's picks. First game is Youngstown State at Kentucky. Mark, what methodology did you use?
Well, I'm an engineer, so I do research, and I was looking and reading about the games and looking at the point spreads, even though we're saying we're just picking them straight up. So, I'm a very casual college football fan. But I don't have a methodology. I was just, of course, if you're home or away, and so most of the time I went with the with the picks. I did pick one game against the spread, I think.
And in the first game,
so of course went with Kentucky in the first game. So I think what's the spread on it? I think that's going to be isn't that one of those expected blowout games, Dadman?
It should be one of those paycheck games. So
paycheck
and I'm
games,
going with you with Kentucky too.
Yeah,
and
that's
the same thing.
Easy one.
The next game too with Abilene.
Next game, yeah.
Mark takes Missouri.
Missouri, yeah, and I think that's a pretty easy. Obviously, if you're not including the points in this, makes it a lot easier. But yeah,
I agree with that one. So then, which one did you take in this?
Oh, look at these fancy graphics you got. That's awesome.
Exactly. It's great to do.
I hope you're paying your producer a lot of money for this.
I can't afford her. I have to beg her. She does it out of the goodness and love of her heart. So Georgia, South Carolina. Do you remember who you took in this one?
I went for Georgia in this one.
Absolutely,
for the Bulldogs.
Okay. Yep. And I agree with Mark again. I mean, a lot of these I think we're going to be straight up in agreement.
I think this was a relatively easy. It probably could turn out totally different. Who knows when the whistle blows? But there weren't only a couple of games I thought were tough to figure out what to do from the kindness of my heart. Yeah. I know. What would you think about that, Dadman? We'll recap at the end, I guess. But yeah, Georgia. I agree with Georgia. I mean, until somebody beats them, South Carolina, I don't trust the quarterback. It just we'll have to see. Which leads us to Penn State at Auburn, and you take Penn State. Yeah, no, this is one I think I went against the spread on this one, but it's a pretty close spread. I think it was 3 points on this one, if I'm right. I mean, like we said, we're just doing this for fun, so it's
and straight up picking because like I said earlier, I don't trust Auburn. I don't trust their quarterback. I don't trust their offense. They got They got all kinds of problems there. Normally, I'd take the Southern team, but I'm going with Penn State here.
Oh, we went together. Yeah.
Yep.
So the predictor on this one was 60-40 and according to ESPN. So, but you never know till the game's played. But you're right. Exactly. Yeah, that one. We'll see what happens with the Nittany Lions this weekend. But they're ranked 22.
And Auburn's, like I said, has been picked to finish last in the West. So, and that performance against San Jose State says a lot right there. And then we'll go to Mississippi at Georgia Tech. It's you take Ole Miss.
Took Ole Miss too. Yep.
Okay, and I will agree with you again.
All right.
We're straight up.
Darn it! We're gonna have some controversy here, right?
I know we're gonna have some controversy. Okay, so Vanderbilt at Northern Illinois.
Let's see. I took Vandy on this one.
You took Vandy. Why'd you take Vandy?
I just had a gut. I kind of had a gut feeling about this one. I think so. I just went with
okay.
And then who's at home that week? That's
Northern Illinois is at home.
Yeah, so that's probably that could be a pick maybe that I don't know that what I read about the game, it seemed to me that Vanderbilt was favored. Of course, you hate picking against the game that against a team at home. So that's
traditionally Northern Illinois has been pretty decent of a program. Vanderbilt was starting to sucker me in, but then last week losing as badly as they did to Wake Forest with really just getting routed from the beginning.
Yeah,
I got to go Northern Illinois.
All right, well that could be the one game. Well, I think maybe it could be a surprise. So
we get one that is different so far.
Yeah, there we go.
So we'll go down a backstretch now. UL Monroe at Alabama. Do we really need to say much about this one?
Nope.
Yeah,
nope. So
not just your brother-in-law. Yeah,
that's
over Duck Dynasty. So
yeah.
Mississippi State at LSU.
And I went for LSU.
Okay.
Because Clyburn Times told me to pick that.
Okay. All right.
No, he didn't, but I'm just teasing.
Yeah. Well, don't tell this Clobby's going to not like me because I went with the Bulldogs.
You went with the Bulldogs. All right.
Yeah, they won last time in Baton Rouge. They seem to be moving hot on offense. They seem to be very productive. And LSU's given up a ton of yardage on the ground and really struggled against a very mediocre FSU team. It could be. You never know though. When LSU plays at home, they can get up for anybody.
They're home though, right? Yeah, that's the kicker there. They're at home, so
exactly.
I think LSU with the home field advantage. Even though they got that one loss, we'll see what to FSU. But it was a 1-point loss. So
it was a LSU scored a touchdown with no time on the clock, and then FSU blocked the extra point, which won the game.
Yeah, so that was a great game. First,
that was.
I watched some of the replays on that game, so yeah, that was a great game. So we'll see what and they bounced back this week with the easy win, but we'll see.
All right, we'll go to Missouri State, Arkansas. That's pretty. I mean,
Razorbacks, yeah.
Another paycheck game. Akron at Tennessee. I think we have a similar situation here.
Volunteers, yep.
Yeah, I mean, and they're forecast to roll pretty good on that game. South Florida at Florida. Let's see.
I wonder. Wait. Quite. Oh, how do you guys think in the chat? Who do you think Dadman's gonna pick for this game? And any surprises here, or what do you think the Dadman will go for?
I'd be curious to see what they say, but I tell you what, I really don't trust the Gators quarterback, and I'm sort of down on the coach right now because of decisions that were made last week. But you never know. So I just, this week, it should be obvious. Next week though, next week will be interesting when they play at Tennessee because after that Utah game, I thought I had looked at them very favorably, but I don't know. I'll have to think about it for next week. But this week I'm going to take Florida. There's just no.
All right. That's
just no stopping.
you look at the game, the matchup, but
yes, South Florida is just so bad.
Yeah.
So our last game is Miami at Texas A&M, and Mark, you took Texas A&M.
Yeah, I took Texas. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Sorry to go against you Floridians there, but
well, I like the SEC, but I hate Texas A&M, and I hate the Hurricanes, but I'm going with the Hurricanes. So we disagree on 3 games this week.
3 games. All right.
Vanderbilt, Northern Illinois, Mississippi State, LSU, and Miami at Texas A&M. I could see Texas A&M winning this game, though. After losing last week, I could see them winning out the whole season now, because sometimes a loss like that wakes a team up and turns the season around. But that's folks, that's where we.
That could be an interesting game. See what close game, I think. Yep.
It could be. The thing is, if Miami can score enough points to beat Texas A&M, but if A&M's offense is not productive, then really you don't need a lot of points. It's just, the problem is like when Florida was going to Texas A&M, they turn the ball over, make errors and mistakes. Can Miami make sure they don't do that on the road? Because it's always tough playing on it, especially I think A&M Stadium is like near 100,000 or maybe over 100,000. I understand it's pretty raucous over there. So
so that's what I went with too. You're at home. That's especially in college. It's big difference, I think. Yep,
absolutely. Well, Mark, thank you for reviewing last week and previewing this week's and picking with me a little bit. A
lot of fun. Yep.
I enjoyed it. Enjoyed the food stories. Now everybody can go out and get second dinner tonight and stuff and all that. Yeah, got any closing thoughts or what about football in general, or what are you doing with your channel? Any type of plans you've got coming?
Oh, sure. Yep. Thank you. Yeah. Well, of course, coming up in a few minutes, I'll be on the Clubhouse with Clobbering Times and Raquel talking. And this is Star Trek month this week, so I'll be showing my. I did an open boxing video. With Clobbering Times showing the new Star Trek: The Motion Picture, 4K. A special edition with all these goodies in it. So I'll be showing that again tonight. And of course, Sunday Night Geekery, and you're always there, which I really appreciate, hanging out and we talk pop culture, Star Trek, sci-fi, and food. We're not supposed to, right? It always degenerates into food. So we always have a great time hanging out with you and then playing some late night Fortnite. So that's always fun. There's one more icon I want to get in Fortnite, the Darth Vader icon on the bonus round. So I gotta get maybe 25 more levels. So maybe the missus will walk me through some more levels. I finally got the jumping on three not three trampolines. What do they call them in Fortnite?
The jump pads.
The jump pads. I finally did that. Jump on 3 jump pads in a row. And the silly one, we had to do the jump pad, the tire, and then the mushroom. I tried that for an hour, and I finally got it because I kept getting killed before the last one.
Did you ever get the 360 off a boar?
I didn't. Oh, did I get that one? I think I got that one.
Okay.
I still haven't headbutted anyone with the boar though. But I appreciate you having me on, and like I said, I'm just casual, very real casual college football fan, but more of a pro football, and but you always watch the big games, and as a someone who just watches those big games, I appreciate I do like the playoff system now, although it's kind of decimated the bowl system, like you said. But as a more casual fan, at least you have a winner in the end. You're not just going to that AP ranking.
Yeah, so it's so subjective because one year they ended up with the last time I think it was around 1990 that Georgia Tech and Colorado ended up in a split national title.
Yeah.
And they neither one faced, and they didn't play each other in the bowls because of the bowl alignments. So you just shake your head at that. But
that's kind of nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I know, especially with the money involved nowadays. It's
big business. It's basically a pro sport. So the other thing is too, I'm glad that some of the players can, the big time players can make some money off of it and get something back, because those eventually they're gonna hopefully be stars, but you never know, they could get hurt or so at least I know we don't have time to get into that now, but that's another the compensation or something other than, the free ride is great too. Don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
College ain't cheap these days. I had 3 in college last year at one time. So that was a scary year.
Yeah.
But no, it's just college football is it's a lot of fun to watch, and maybe I'll root for your Gators someday, Dadman.
Okay, well there you go. I'm trying to convert everybody into being Gator fans.
Well, we do have one of the youth football teams up here. They started a new team. They had to add a team because football got to be so popular, so they called them the Gators. So when
cool.
they they had the Gator, I guess they licensed the team, the logo or whatever. So there's a lot of people in my neck of the woods. You see, and of course our team. I hate the Patriots because I'm a Giants fan, and our logo it's like it's the Generals, but it's like the Patriots logo. So if you're up here, you see all these. All
Patriots
the logos.
logo ought to be a flat football, But hey, I guess
well, I do like the soul. I do happen to like their logo with the quote unquote Patriot guy, but other than that, don't like the team. Yep.
Absolutely. Okay.
Yep.
Well, thanks, Mark, for coming on.
Thank
you. It's been a great. Golly, we went almost 2 hours. So
yeah, we talk a lot. Yeah.
Great. Well, and always get back to food. Always love the food talk. So. Oh, well, let me just stay back in the back room just a minute. I'll be right back with you, Mark, okay?
Yep. Appreciate it. Yep.
All right, thanks. And thank you, everybody out in the chat. Castle, Ord, Squeaka, Mrs. Let's see. All of y'all, thank y'all for coming by. It's been great to hopefully entertain y'all listening. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this. Got some excellent food ideas off of Mark. I'm sorry if you're hungry though now. You'll have to find either something in your kitchen or find some place to go. So, but thank you again for being here. Thank you, Castle. Yes, it was fun on this side. Thank you for being there and participating. And, look back to the previous episodes that we've done. They were fun too. Watch some parts of it. We'll try to be having the show every Thursday at 8 for the most part. If we vary off that, we'll announce it ahead of time. I hope to see y'all here next Thursday night. We'll have another very special guest next Thursday night. And I appreciate every one of y'all being here. And before I forget to do this, we'll do this. And folks, love y'all. Thanks for being here. Have a good night, good day tomorrow. Get some sleep. And just best of wishes to all of y'all. Be good out there. Bye.